You can see here the different modules which make up MyWorkPLAN. On the left, the estimator for quotations, the job tracker, the scheduler in which I can display tasks related to an order or a quote, the info manager in which I can manage all of my documents and even add alarms, the configuration module, the online help center, and the option to exit MyWorkPLAN. Now we're going to see how we can navigate between the different MyWorkPLAN modules. Navigation is easy using MyWorkPLAN's Easy View tree structure. Let's take the example of the Estimator Quotation module. At the lowest level of the structure we have an object called Quotation. When I expand the quotation, I can see the customer name, the contact person and the different assemblies. It's very easy to filter all quotations and sales orders for any customer. To do this, simply select the customer, then drag and drop it into the small red filter symbol in the top left corner. We can see that the customer has now become the root element. Below we can see the related quotations and sales orders. Now we will learn how to create a basic quotation in MyWorkPLAN. The add function automatically allocates a quotation number, and we can add a description to the quotation and to the quotation version. We can add an existing customer or add a new one directly from this screen, a reference number for the customer, an article, although it's not compulsory, a unit price and a delivery date. Now let's save it. That's it! We've just created our first basic quotation. It shows some tooling equipment quoted at €10,000. We are now going to print out our different quotations. I select the quotation we want in the tree structure and then click the print button. A dialog box is displayed. Here I can see that there are several different document models I can choose from. These can be totally configured by users. A simple click on the print button and the quotation is generated and listed in the tree structure as a linked document. Now, let's create our first detailed quotation. The add function automatically allocates a quotation number. I input information concerning my quote and the detailed quote just below the version field. I'm going to select a customer from my database as well as a customer reference for this project. I'll add a quotation line with, for example, a unit price of €20,000 and a delivery in May. Let's save that. A double click gives us access to the sub-assemblies. I'll add the first sub-assembly, which is the rear section, then the second sub-assembly, which is the front section. I will now detail these two sub-assemblies according to the different type of work to be carried out. A double click in the descriptive field gives us access to the details of each of the two sub-assemblies. Now I will add the different assignments. 10 hours of CAD preparation, sundry supplies for a value of €1,200, and 20 hours of engineering services. Let's save that. Now I'll calculate the price of the second subassembly. I can calculate the cost using the tree structure. I add 30 hours of CAD services, €2,300 of supplies, and 30 hours of assembly time. Now let's save it. We can now see in the tree structure on the left that we have the two sub-assemblies with the two attached assignments. Now we'll have a closer look at the additional information function, which allows the user to customize certain screens. For each of the objects in the tree structure, there is an additional information tab with an empty zone. By expanding the tree structure, we can see that each element, for example customer and version, have this function. Let's imagine that we would like to customize the versions screen. Click on Modify Screen to display the dialog box giving access to different fields such as text, dates, numbers and checkboxes. Let's take the text field, which I'll drag and drop onto the screen. I will define it with a medium-sized font and also rename the label with, for example, the priority given to this version of the quote. After saving, the zone is now available for inputting data. Certain zones concerning the contact have already been set up. We have added, for example, the names of our contact's children, his birthday and his family situation. Now we're going to see how easy it is to rename some of the MyWorkPLAN labels. We're going to rename the estimator quotation module tenders and sales orders in the job tracker module as confirmed orders. Now let's go to the synonyms and easy text under general settings. Make a search for sales orders and replace this by confirmed orders, and then save the modifications. Now let's replace quotations by tenders, and then save these modifications. All you have to do now is to exit the application and rerun it to check that the modifications have been taken into account. Now we're going to use the process configurator known as the calculator. We've created a quotation and we're going to specify the different technical criteria which serve as a basis to calculate the cost. The My Calculator interface button gives access to the various interfaces available. You will notice that technical criteria default values are recovered, so we just have to click on the Calculate button to obtain the cost. The cost price is €245,280. Of course, I can modify different data I input to change the overall price. For example, by modifying the width, length and debit values, my raw materials and process prices are modified. Once everything is okay for the pricing, I just have to validate and it is automatically transformed into a quotation. A tooling assembly has been created. Of course, the calculated price can be modified to generate a different offer to my customer. After saving, I can expand the tree structure and visualize the different jobs attached to this quotation. Now we're going to take a closer look at technical criteria. This is important as the technical criteria really are the backbone of each project in MyWorkPLAN. A criteria tree structure has been set up using the configuration parameters, which allows us to input information for each version of each object, quotation or sales order. Standard tooling assemblies, types of raw material, bounding box and part volumes are typical examples of the data we enter. Now we're going to run a search function on quotations according to one or several criteria. For example, criteria concerning the type of raw material or a standard tooling assembly. In the left section, we can see that quotations are automatically filtered. Now I'll add criteria to search for quotes currently being put together and which contain one or more cavity molds. I can reuse this filter by giving it a name, for example, My Filter, and then save it. It is now active in the lower part of the screen and I can select it again later. Let's now include a CAD model in our project tree structure. Once this link has been made, you can open it in Analyzer by double-clicking on the CAD file name. On the left, you can now see a report concerning the import. Before analysing the model, the first step is to display the part. We can see that the solid is not correctly closed and we're going to have to stitch the surfaces. We simply select the model and run the stitching function. We can see now that the model is closed and usable.